And you brought up Claudio Reyna, and of course his move into the sort of youth movement here and developing our youth in the future. That the New York Cosmos seem to be banking on a future in the academy system. They went out and they bought up that academy in L.A., and so they've got West and East now. They're planning, as far as I understand it, to sort of create these stars through their academies and then sell those stars to the highest bidder down the road if they don't get an MLS team. And is that the kind of youth system you're thinking about down the line, where we have these academies developing players like they do in other countries, and then let's say you're Everton and you develop Wayne Rooney? Well, you developed them and you get to reap the rewards when you sell his contract off to Manchester United.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it's going to be headed. I read about the Ajax's youth system and what they do, and they lose a lot of money every year, but then they sell one Wesley Sneijder, and that funds the whole thing for 5 years, So
yeah, right.
I think there is some merit to it. I think with the way and how it works everywhere else, and it's a proven thing that if you do develop somebody, you will get rewarded for it. I think that's probably where the future of academies are going, and I think the Cosmos are smart to jump on that and look to be the first of their kind. Mm-hmm. I think U.S. Soccer has done it with their youth national teams and with their the residency program, in the U17s in Florida, mm-hmm. where they're trying to take some aspect of it, but for actually to sell guys and to make money. The Cosmos are definitely ahead of the curve, even though it's being done everywhere else. But here in the States, they're going to take advantage of that.
Right. One of the big differences between the New York Cosmos academies and IMG, for instance, a lot of what IMG does is pay to play. They take a lot of academy kids in from parents that can afford to put them into that and pay for the program, whereas the New York Cosmos program is absolutely free, which I think is, where we have to head in the future.
Well, I agree with you. I think the interesting aspect about that whole thing is that the kids that pay to play are usually suburban kids.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that the sport's going to get better is if we can make the game accessible to the kids that can't afford that. And I think these academies, like the Cosmos are setting up, are going to provide those opportunities and start to push the suburban kids to either get better or get out of the way. And I think that ultimately is going to be a big boost for our national team and for MLS.
Yeah. And we're almost unbelievably 30 minutes have almost passed by. But there are a couple more questions I definitely want to get in. And one of them was, I always considered Steve Ralston, for instance, to be one of the better American players to never have played overseas. In 2000, you had a short, loan stint. It was at Lech Poznan in Poland. How was that experience? And for you personally, why no more Europe for you? And then certainly, you're one of the top defenders in MLS, and I must imagine you had other offers.
Yeah, I'll start with Lech Poznan first. It was an interesting experience. That was when the MLS season ended in mid-September. Mm-hmm. That's when we had our last game. And one of my teammates, Wojtek Kukowiak, who was the Herman Award winner at Clemson, he was on our team as his rookie year, and he was going over there. He's Polish. And he was going to take Ian Russell with him, and our coach got it set up where all three of us were going to go on loan and actually play in real games. So we got to play in their cup games, their league matches. It was a great experience. It helped that we had Wojtek there because he could speak Polish, because that's one of the harder languages to learn.
Right.
And for me, not only to have Wojtek, but Ian as well, somebody who doesn't speak the language, feels kind of the odd man out, and to go over there and try to play our trade in another country. It was a great experience. I wish they allowed players to do it more. I understand with the length of our season now, it's a little bit harder.
Right.
But it worked out then, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything. It's like I kind of compare it to the A-League, where I got to learn how to become even a better professional and to see a different style of soccer and hear different voices and a different way of approaching the game that I don't think I would have gotten had I stayed just in MLS and been in MLS solely.
Yeah. But Europe never called you back.
I actually had some. If I had been a little bit more wise to what was going on and less naive to the situation. I remember my coach in Poland, who spoke English, telling me that some Bundesliga scouts had been out and were interested in me, and I kind of just shrugged like, okay, that's cool, that makes me feel good, and I didn't really follow up on it. And I think if I had, I wasn't a known quantity at that point in MLS. I don't think anybody could have predicted what I was going to do. And so I think I would have been they would probably just said, okay, yeah, you can let him go.
Yeah.
Probably for nothing. I would have been close to being free. So had I pushed it, maybe that would have been an option for me. I don't know if I was ready to make that jump just yet, but there's something about being at home and being around your family, being in America that is hard to leave when you're 23 years old. But after the World Cup in 2006, I had an opportunity to leave. I was still in the middle of the contract. My timing never really worked out in terms of being free and being hot at the right moment. I remember my contract first went out. It was 2003, and I hadn't been an all-star yet. My agent had some contacts, but I wasn't really pushing to leave. I had just gotten married. My wife was in law school, and just the timing wasn't right.
Yeah. And
then when that contract ran out, it was going to be in 2007, at the end of 2007, but I wanted to figure out something after the World Cup. For lack of a better phrase, I wanted to cash in.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to see what an option was overseas. I actually had Hannover, where Stevie Cherundolo plays. He was in the GM and the coach's office talking me up and wanted me to come over. I had a flight booked. I was going to get my physical, and they decided that they were going to go with a forward from Rangers. So that bummed me out because that would have been a good league for me. I wouldn't have been expected to start right away and get my feet wet and kind of work from there.
Yeah. And it would have been nice to play alongside Steve, too, as well.
Yeah, it would have been amazing to have somebody that I knew within the city, a good friend, Steve Cherundolo. So, and then I had Rosenborg in Norway. That was another big one. They were ready to pay. I had $1 million transfer fee on me at that time, even though I didn't get paid anywhere near that. But I did wake up in the morning when I found that out and said, today I feel like $1 million, and it was true. So if you could add some sound effects where there's like a dun, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll work on that. But
so that one fell through only because I was trying to push out the Hannover thing. That was where I wanted to go a little bit more than Rosenborg. And the crummy part about it was, and I don't say crummy, but I said it because I'm sure kids are listening, was I saw Rosenborg playing at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea in the Champions League about 5 months later. And I was like, I most likely would have been playing in that game.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing. I'd gotten texts and calls from their GM and coach, and they really wanted me. And so I kicked myself a little bit for maybe not seeing that through.
Right.
But also on the flip side of that, from a national team perspective, I didn't know at the time Bob Bradley was still interim coach. This was in January of 2007. I didn't realize, another naive moment for me, that he was that European players got a little bit more weight than MLS players. I never factored that in, and had I known that then, I maybe would have pushed to try to go over to Europe. But I just assumed it was more of the Bruce mold, where I'll just take whatever guys are playing well for me, you know, and I was wrong. So
it happens.
And that's the way it goes. Bob gave me plenty of chances, and I don't know if I made the most of it, but it is what it is.